with these, adjusting the contrast really does make a difference of what you see and how you see it. So, first of all, this is a nerve. Okay, it's a cross-section of the nerve. And so that means there's going to be many nerve fibers in here. And the nerve fibers are referring to each one of these individual units that we see here. Now, since it is a nerve, you know they're myelinated. We should be able to identify the axon, myelination, endoneurium, perineurium, which is going to be associated with identifying individual groupings that we're going to call fascicles. Okay? And then the outermost is going to be the epineurium. Okay? So these are all layers of connective tissue. That is going to be a neuroglial cell, which in this case, since it's peripheral, that'd be a Schwann cell. Okay? Now, when you're looking at one of these intact examples, it gets a little confusing because when you start trying to figure out layers, if you start from the outside and start working in, it's like there's too many layers. And so for these, it's better to work from the inside out. And the reason why it looks like too many layers and gets confusing, you need to realize that your neuron or your nerves are very similar to your blood vessels. So you have large blood vessels that start to slowly branch into smaller ones. This is the same thing. So we're not looking at this right where, you know, comes off the spinal cord. We're looking at this further down the road where it is starting to branch off to form smaller nerves. And so that kind of confuses the issue a little bit, but it's easy to remedy as long as you start from the inside, work your way out. So I am going to go to, you see where that doublet is? I'm going to start there. And I'm actually going to, I think you guys can see it pretty well, but I'm going to go to low magnification and see if I can get to, oh, that's pretty good. I like that. Okay, so when I'm looking at this, I can actually see a structure right there in the center of that little circle. That's my axon, that's my nerve fiber. Okay? And then when I look at it the way I have it focused, and you can change like which thing is darker and which one's lighter, and that's fine, whatever. But the way that I have it set up, then you see the white space there, we're going to consider that to be the myelination. Okay, myelination is what, you know, makes white matter white. And then all of the purpley that you see around it, each one of these has that surrounding it. That's going to be the endoneurium. So the endoneurium is basically a layer that kind of isolates each one as its own entity. The myelination is there to help to support it and to insulate it from ion leakage. Okay, just like, you know, this has the plastic on it so that you do not absorb any of the current. Electrical cord, same thing, because the current, the flow will go path of least resistance, so this reduces paths available, kind of what we're doing with myelination. And then these layers of connective tissue are kind of making each one kind of its own separate circuit, if you will. So axon, myelination, and that's the endoneurium, right? Surrounding the endoneurium, or surrounding this grouping, is going to be the next layer, okay? And how do I know that that's the next layer? Because I can see that this is forming a very isolated group, right? And that group that I'm seeing there is what we call a fascicle. So that which is surrounding it is going to be your perineurium. Peri means to go around. And fascicles are circular. Okay, so here's the deal. When you're looking at this, and this one's actually a good example. So we have these two fascicles like butted up next to each other. If we would have been more proximal from this point, so closer to where it branched off the spinal cord, those two most likely would have been one fascicle at one time. They're splitting to branch into separate pathways, okay? When I'm looking at this, that's what's happening. It's transitioning into smaller and smaller pathways. So this is going to be my perineurium, and then beyond that is this adipose tissue, okay? That's supporting it, and it's kind of being used as a way to separate and isolate more. And so if I extend beyond that, and I'm going to go this way because this is the easiest. So I go this way, I see this outer edge here. That's my epineurium. I mean, it's easy to understand that that's the epineurium. You call this epineurium, that'd be okay too. Epineurium, basically, we're going to call it that as long as it's extending away from a fascicle and there's not another fascicle sitting there. You see what I'm saying? That's why I don't want you going from outside in, because you say, oh, epineurium, perineurium, and then you go, I've got too much stuff. So going from the inside out is the better reference frame to use. Does that make sense?